Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
Now we're back here at WeatherTech Laguna Seca, I should say. Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan is back for rounds 4, 5 and 6, of course, for our Formula Series. It's been an amazing opening round just a couple of weeks ago, and we are back for the next set of races. Of course, we have 7 rounds over the course of the season. Myself, Cameron Roger, and Justin Prince alongside me for this one. And of course, 3 races, Formula 4 cars, a lot of action coming your way this evening for 2 11 and 17 lap race. And of course, the schedule is looking pretty good over the course of the season. We have a whole variety of tracks. Road Atlanta last week, Laguna Seca this week before we finish off the American leg with Virginia Raceway in a couple of weeks' time. But then we go down under for Phillip Island before coming back to Europe for the Red Bull Ring and Circuit Zandvoort, and then to finish off the season with Oran Park Raceway back down under again. So a whole load of different tracks coming your way. And of course, a few of these tracks, including this one, are running alongside the Swedish Championship. So the drivers getting the practice in with the similar races, similar tracks, and of course the same car as well. And we've only had one race so far this season, but the standings, as ever, are important to look at. With 3 races, the points get spread out very, very quickly. And Jesper Eriksson, the winner of the championship just a few months ago, and the back end of 2023, is also leading after the first round. Oscar Fredriksson is in second place with Marcus Byfelt, Ivan Lenholm, and then Christopher Giros rounding out your top 5. Of course, Giros winning the 3rd race last time, but Eriksson winning the first 2. But Justin, after an amazing opening start to this broadcast, we of course are looking back for some more racing. And what can you expect from tonight?
Well, when it comes to tonight, expecting a different type of tone when it comes to the race, because for a lot of these drivers at Road Atlanta, it came down to being able to stay in the main pack for drafting, but also being able to slingshot for the battle for the race win, especially in race 1, or keep it clean in races 2 or 3 in the battle for 3rd, where you had drivers going off to wheels. So, for today, though, you don't have necessarily the same opportunities to just slingshot past each other. You have to be able to handle not just the elevation changes, be able to be a bit brave in terms of some of the sends to get a pass done. It's not going to be an easy race, to say the very least, around this racetrack, especially when you think about the corkscrew, the potential of incidents there.
Absolutely. It's going to be a tough one in that regard. But what we do know, Justin, is that this car's pretty good, actually, in terms of the sort of raceability on most tracks. I've had the pleasure of sort of commentating on this car over the course of so many tracks around the world, and it always seems to bring a really good race. So I'm hoping that even though it's going to be a little bit more difficult today, we should see some rather nice passes. There's your event format for the 3 races. We've obviously have qualifying. That will set the grid for race 1. We'll then basically bunch everyone up and use that result for the order for race 2. And then in race 3, we have the top 15 inverted from the race 2 result. So basically what happened last time was obviously Jesper Eriksson, he won the first 2 races, but then when we get that reverse grid, it makes it that little bit more difficult. He did get up into second place though, so it's definitely looking like a format where you have to work for it, but it's definitely possible to get back to the front.
Yeah, especially if there's a lot of trouble spots when it comes to some of the drivers today, especially since there's a lot of chances for that attrition to come in, but also just a lot of chances for drivers to lose time if they don't have the competence, or better yet, spend a lot of time side by side. For example, you talked about the Andretti hairpin. That's likely going to be one of our prime passing opportunities of the day today. But in turn, keep in mind, getting the pass done is easier said than done there, because If you're not clear by the apex right here like Marcus Byfeld is, you have the chance, if you're on that outside, to be able to in turn get the switch back, and in turn you have to reset the process all over again to even attempt to make a pass. In turn as well, the Rahal Straight, one of the opportunities where we'll see potentially a lot of drivers send it and miss the corner and go off the track through turn 6 before they reach the corkscrew. That's also likely going to be a chance where drivers have to be extremely brave. For Byfeld, for example, he's going to emphasize this a bit here. You have to aim it just right. Get to the edge of the curb. Don't hit that red curbing on the right side. If you go a little bit too quick, you're off into the sand trap. If you go and hit the red sausage curb to the left, it sends you off to the sand trap to the right. If you hit that sausage curb, you'll also likely potentially spin it. And with all of these drivers, one thing I've noticed throughout practice but also qualifying, the corkscrew is sending everybody mightily loose before they get to Rainy Curve. A lot of these drivers are drifting their way to the corkscrew today, and that could cause a lot of drivers to have some snap oversteer.
Yeah, certainly could. It makes it that little bit more difficult as well to sort of race around drivers when you're sliding all over the way. Let's see what Byfeld does as he comes across the line. Of course, the session coming to a finish though, and it looks like he'll be taking that pole position with Buckman in second place. We have 37 drivers today, which is a little bit daunting for a track like this. Obviously, being one of the shorter races, just 2.2 miles or 3.6 kilometers for those in the metric system. It is a very tight one. It's got the, as you're saying, Justin, it's got the sand traps, the gravel traps all over the place. You can't be making any sort of mistakes if you want to be getting, up towards the front in these races, because if you go off one time, you're going to be absolutely sent way back to the pack. And of course, you've got 11 laps only for the first couple of races. So it really isn't, really isn't that long for these drivers to be able to, make those overtakes. Here's your grid though. Byfeld and Buckman on the front row with Jesper Eriksson, your championship leader, with Michael Haflidsson on the second row. Olsen and Lenholm round out your top 6, and of course you'll notice a lot of these drivers racing in our NASCAR series as well. Melvin Orkeson and Slander are on the 4th row, with Rob Vallin rounding out your top 10. Fredriksson and Neptune round out your top 12 and the front third of the field. Kamara and Holmer inside your top 14, with Hellberg and Crook inside your top 16, and we'll run them through very quickly, of course, as we try and get all of the drivers on the screen before we get to the start of the race. It's going to be a tough one down in towards the first braking zone at turn 2, the Andretti hairpin, but then the battles will surely follow through all the way through the first sort of sector or so of the lap. It is a fun track though. That is one thing that we can expect. 11 laps come on the board, with Byfeld and Buckman on that front row as they continue this championship. Of course, round 4 of the season, there's going to be a lot of races and all the points are going to be up for grabs. So hopefully the top lots can continue on with their battles for this championship. Of course, Jesper Eriksson leading the way in the championship. He's there in 3rd place on that second row. Michael Haflidsson, also a champion in the road course series of Svenska. He's there in 4th place. Marcus Byfeld, bit of a late comer last season, but he's certainly looking very fast as the lights go out and 11 laps of racing gets underway from 2nd place. So Backman's had a terrible start. Jesper Eriksson's already got him into a 2nd place as all the drivers run through. Looks like everyone's got off the run nicely, but even in these cars, it's a long run down towards the first braking zone. Jesper Eriksson dives it up the inside there. Can he go from 3rd place to 1st? But of course, he's got his rival there of Byfeld in 2nd place, holding on to the inside of turn 3. Haflidsson follows through in 3rd.
Nicely done by Eriksson to defend. A lot of tire smoke in the middle sector from some of the drivers mid-pack, but a clean start. That's what most of the field wanted to see here. Now the main thing's going to be through sector 3, which drivers are going to be able to survive the corkscrew. That's likely going to be where we see a lot of these drivers lose a lot of time to start this race. The top 2 have already ran away with how quickly they were able to clear each other. Even Lenholm having a hard time being able to keep up as the rest of the pack tries to even keep up with that car.
Yeah, we've lost Haflidsson there at turn 4. Something's happened. There's a car off on the back of the track. It must have been him because he's absolutely gone, and that has caused a huge gap to form. 2 seconds already between 2nd and 3rd place as all the drivers now come out through the corkscrew. A few side-by-sides down in the background there. I think Helmbro may be making a place up at that point, but back to the front. We're going to see Jesper Eriksson diving up the inside in towards the final corner at T11, but he's got to leave the space on the outside for the Street Trends driver of Byfeld. They go side-by-side down this front straight. Eriksson, he's really going for this already. He's got that confidence from that amazing start. Can he work his way down the inside? He's got the inside line for the braking zone here. Byfeld, though, can use that outside line, but he doesn't brake late enough. Jesper Eriksson takes the lead already as we start lap 2.
I can tell you this, at least 6 to 10 drivers at the back of the field. Not happy they started the back of the field. Chaos reigned in the corkscrew into Ray Hall straight as expected. But these two, they have the chance to be able to settle things out early. Expect the potential of a lot of back and forth. It was similar like that last time out at Road Atlanta, mind you, Cameron, where these two really set the tone. Then whoever's in the popcorn seat picked up the pieces, usually a Force Esports driver, to be able to move up a spot and make it a Team 1-2.
Yeah, that's a good point. The teams, of course, somewhat less influence in terms of how the race craft works, as we see in the NASCAR league, but certainly it's great to have teammates around you and can support you into these races. Let's see some replays of potentially what went on in the background of shots at the start. That's Hafliderson going around in turn 4. Unfortunately, didn't quite see the entry of that if there was contact, but there's definitely a car up his inside there, and I wouldn't be surprised, Justin, if there was a bit of a helping hand. Oh, in the background as well, up at turn 5, someone also going up in the air.
Yeah, for Hafliderson, it's been a up and down week because if you throw in the NGK and NTK Esports Cup, in the first race of the 2, I believe he led the way in incident points because he hit a lot of cars and got disqualified. So for a race like this to start like that, it's not been his past few days.
All 3 wide there, coming through turn 1 as they try and work their way through in towards the braking zone. I think that's Frisk making a move on Helmbro, potentially in the background as they work their way around turn number 2. Now, that is a scary moment to see 3 wide coming through a very fast Kinkadee, obviously easily flat out. It's not really noticed as a corner, but still, it's a bit narrow up there, but they made it work. So that is very nice to see the battling, even though it's still a little bit further down, they can still continue on with those fights. Top 35 get points as well, so that is rather good for those who want to be continue on with that one. And what a series we get here when the battling goes up and down the field.
Especially when it comes to a lot of shuffling. Expect things to get very tricky in this section because you already see a lot of sand because some drivers have already spun around. We already had at least one, I can tell you, in Hellberg, I believe, flip over. But groupings like this, opportunities are afoot when you have the driver in front of you go off the track, forced to check up if you're able to react in time. When you can't react in time or there's no mistakes, it can be a lot more difficult to keep things lined up and make sure you stay close, especially with the amount of aero wash you get off this front nose.
Yes, definitely. It's a fast sort of high minimum speed track. So you're definitely right. Got to be careful with your sort of positioning and your racecraft in certain corners. You can get close, but as you say, you don't want to be getting too close. And talking of close, Byfeld, he's remained right on the back of Jesper Eriksson. He hasn't been able to get back past, but he's certainly sitting right there on the rear bumper, and that is what we like to see. I guess a track like this, it does actually have quite a few sort of mini straights, so the slipstream can keep you in check, but you have to be there through the connected corners like this, especially up at T6. Got to be carrying that speed through. Of course, very easy to chunk the curve on the inside, go off on the right-hand side and exit as well. As I think Pedersen, he's dropping down quite a way. He must have gone around a little bit lower down. He's gone down to 32nd place.
Running in 21st as well last time by, so that was just at the edge of the bubble. And I think it comes down to, for a lot of the shuffling you'll see today, heading as much as just the curbing. The right side of the on the sausage curbs rather, whether it's left or right, that's enough to really disable your race car and cause you to snap around. On the bright side for Linus Broström, we talked to him earlier today, and before you got into the full discussion, asked him, how do you feel about today's race? Well, he hates road courses. He doesn't like this track. He also just wanted to keep it clean and get points. So far, he's keeping it clean. So far, he's running 20th. And also, he's passing some spun cars. So that is Jacques Frisk who's spun it around.
Yeah, that's a nice, easy, free position. And let's see a replay here of Brewster. Oh, chunked the curb a little bit too much on the entry of turn 3 there, spun around, and that's how he's lost a few places. But also on the street trends cars, following him, doing the exact same thing in the same corner, so easily done. And unfortunately there for the Bright Sports driver, just dropping down. It was, that was how Pedersen IC lost, doing the exact same thing, going around. And unfortunately for him, actually, he didn't face the right way after the spin, so lost a few more seconds because of that.
I love how our producer set that up for Linus to show how he spun around and already failed at his goal.
Yeah, it's difficult though. It definitely is difficult when, I mean, this is such a high intensity style of racing as well. As Ericsson there feels the pressure, goes a little bit wide coming through T10 in towards the final corner. And yeah, if you just make those small mistakes, and especially with 37 cars we have, of course, a few of them in the pits now, but still an amazing number of cars that we have out on the track. Hard to the left-hand side goes Ericsson as he defends his position down in towards turn 1. So Byfeld not going up the inside this time around, but another mistake there. Lockups coming for Ericsson. He's definitely feeling this pressure.
Yeah, that's one thing we've seen a lot of last time out. These two pressurizing each other. Byfeld trying to keep things tight. Remember, for Byfeld, he had pace in all 3 races and ended up getting flipped upside down in the last of them with wheel-to-wheel contact. So wanted to make up a little bit more points here and continuing to just wave the flag for his respective group here. Remember, when his teams had track position, whether it's Byfeld or whether it's Gyros and with the invert race, Cameron, they've had pace. For Byfeld, he's still trying to figure out ways to poke because the problem's going to be here. If you do it too early, Ericsson likely has a chance to fight back quickly. If you do it too late, well, Jesper Ericsson's already got the lead, so you can't go higher from the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough one actually choosing it. Yeah, you're right, because clearly you can stay close around this track, but can you make that all-important pass? So I think looking at how close they are on pace, I think if he gets the opportunity, I think he needs to send it and try and get past. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to capitalize on Ericsson's mistakes on that previous lap, but we're already coming on to lap 7, so these 11-lap races are going to go very quickly. Of course, we have a slightly longer 17 laps for the third and final race with that reverse grid, but for now, they just need to keep on pushing on. And remember that we sort of have a reset as such for race 2, so all the gaps get pushed up. So this battle is just going to continue on over the course of these 2 races between these drivers, but it's working out pretty well. Even in the background, Lenholm, he's kind of kept that 2-second gap in behind, so I think the pace is looking pretty good for these top drivers.
Well, Lenholm did the same thing in the second of the 3 races last time out, where he finished solid in the first of the races, kept in the draft in the second race, took a podium, and then got a top 5 to close out with the invert race. Melvin Atkinson, I should say, was also really in that conversation, that same viewpoint, because he was in that popcorn seat in the first of the races. If it wasn't for attrition in the second race, we might be talking about him a bit more higher up in the standings here. So far, he's been trying to fight with Hugo Robb, going back and forth for this 4th position. He's not keeping it conservative like some of the others. In fact, Robb having issues trying to go side by side yet again.
Oh, Åkesson, big send down the inside is actually going to lose him out some momentum as Andre Salander, he looks to the inside in towards the final corner, not quite enough to make the move. He had his nose in there, but he's just about kept him. What a battle we've got here up inside the top 10, as you say, for 4th place, all the way down. I mean, really inside your top 8, all battling up towards turn number 1 and 2 now. Any dives, any moves down the inside here? Let's see. Is Salander going to continue on with his late braking? No, they're going to stay in single file this time around, but it just shows you if you have one sort of little battle yourself, it just slows you down those extra few tenths and everyone just bunches up behind. And now Hugo Robb actually has even more pressure as the drivers continue to try and take that place off him.
I will say for Salander, this is a big improvement from the last run, because he did have a solid day for the points, but he wasn't in the conversation at all in Georgia. But today has started off with a good track position. That's step 1 for a race like this. But step 2 is being able to maintain at least a solid enough pace to stay in the choo-choo train effect. And that 140 stayed in that to keep in the fight. Still give credit to Bachmann, who did not have a good start to this race after having a good quality speed. His teammates keeping him close, and never mind, there goes the 119, and there goes a car.
Oh, yes, and that's a tough place to rejoin as well. It's going to be blind, but I think he's got back going, and he's only down in 9th place, so that has worked out very well for Buckman. But of course, starting up there on the front row, but he's dropping further back. Orkerson, Salander continue their battles up towards turn number 1 for another time around, but it is Rob who's now under attack from Orkerson, the Forza Esports driver. He's getting a run down towards turn number 2. Can he make a move? He's about a car length back, but he's going to go to that outside line, try and do a little bit of a different line, get Rob offline, but no, Rob has defended that pretty well coming up towards turn 3, but we're back in there. Just shows you how easy it is to make a mistake around here as they push so hard.
Exactly. All it takes is you end up thinking, I can stick it, and you end up having trouble. That time, your contact in the midst of the side-by-side, and there's the case right there, thinking, I might be able to stick it, No, I can't, have to back out of this, because if they try to run side-by-side, Rob likely hits the side. It's about finding that balance between, is it time to go, or is it safe to go, and can I actually go and make this move? That's the bullet play.
Oh, certainly. Oh, and there's potentially a bit of contact there. Rob, he spun in front of drivers. Someone is collected in the background, unfortunately, and that's a terrible place to be stopped, I should say, on the track. And Rob there, I think there was a bit of contact. I think Orkerson just caught the back of him, but Rob was already slightly offline, wasn't able to get the run that he wanted out of the corkscrew, and that's meant he's dropped down. Orkerson is now up into 4th, and Solander's chasing him down for that 5th place. I think that's Fredriksson was the one, unfortunately, caught up. Of course, actually 2nd place in the championship, already having a slightly difficult race, and that's just gone from bad to worse.
And Rob just spun in the pit lane as well for good measure, so I can already tell you, based on the fact going side by side of the corkscrew that wide, all it takes is for one of the 2 drivers to have some issues trying to get the transition, going back to what we seen in qualifying. You have a stack up like that one we just seen. In turn, though, up front, less than 2 laps to go. Byfeld needs to find a way to do something, because the closest he's gotten is right to the back of the wing in the corkscrew and in the middle of the Andretti hairpin. He hasn't gotten any side-by-side action against Ericsson today yet.
Yeah, he's got the speed, but he needs the extra 10th or so, a couple of tenths a lap to really try and have a dive. He's just sort of keeping up with Ericsson at this moment in time, and we're coming up just 1 corner to go, and we'll be on the final lap for the opening race of the evening. Still 2 more to go, and race 2, of course, is the grid is the result of this. So they'll be back on the front row, but of course the points are given out after this race as well. So Ericsson wants to keep on his top spot. He's got 2 wins already this season out of the 3 races. Can he make it 3 and 4 as he come on towards the final lap of the Karlskoga Self-Storage Grand Prix? And let's see what Byfeld can do.
And yet again, that's the closest he's been able to get this entire race. Right to the rear wing. Get some pressure on Ericsson, but not much else. You can see he's trying to find little disadvantages he can take advantage of from Ericsson. Ericsson going a little bit more wider on exit, trying to get a little bit of a diamond line. That's all said and done until the fact you can't get side by side to get anything done.
And this is an important corner up here at turn 6. Can he get the run? Is Ericsson going to make a mistake? The corkscrew, one of the best overtaking opportunities, but it's so difficult, and he is close. Byfeld is going to have to go to the right-hand side. This is the outside of the corkscrew. Ericsson, hard defense to the left-hand side, comes back to the mid-track, should have a nice line through there, as Byfeld is really putting the pressure on now. Ericsson's already made a mistake up at this next corner at turn number 10. Is he going to do it once more? Byfeld putting on the pressure. 2 corners to go. Ericsson, of course, your reigning champion, your championship leader, Byfeld, trying to take that mantle off him this season, goes to the outside at the final corner. Ericsson holds it up the inside. It's a drag race up towards the line. Who is going to have it? It looks like it's going to be Jesper Ericsson to take the first race victory of the evening. And the Karlskoga Grand Prix is going to go to Jesper Ericsson. What a battle that was. Of course, we'll reset for race 2, but he has the first one in the books.
And give credit once again to Byfeld. He tried to go and send it on the outside in that final corner. That's not an easy task whatsoever. But Ericsson definitely played that race to a T in terms of playing it well defensively, but also no mistakes, rapid pace. They had a 3-second buffer over the rest of the field.
Yeah, that was some awesome battling between them. It wasn't necessarily side by side every lap, but it was more like a time trial. They were just following each other, putting on that pace. And as you say, despite their sort of little battle, I mean, it was 10 seconds back to Augusten in 4th place as well. Really some big gaps in behind. I know there's some battles. Quite a crazy opening race there. We had a couple of cars flying up into the air. We saw some spinners. But I guess you do expect that over the course of the race. And we will, of course, reset for race 2. So where you finish now, you go back on the grid. So for the likes of Michael Haflidsson dropping down, Bachmann dropping down as well, they, unfortunately, from their first and second row starts in the race 1, they now have to go back from their finishing positions this time around. Bachmann, I think, P10 he finished, and Haflidsson down in P15. So they've got a lot of work to do as they come back. And of course, some of the drivers who went into the pit lane, they're going to need to do it again. Here's your result and, of course, the grid for the next race. Ericsson winning by less than 1/10 of a second to Marcus Byfeld. Lennholm is in 3rd place. Augusten is in 4th. Selander rounding out your top 5. Holman, Neptun, Kamara, Giros and Bachmann rounding out your top 10, with Jesper Eriksson getting the fastest lap on lap 10 as he was pushing right at the end of the race to hold on. Fredriksson, your 2nd place in the championship, dropping down to 11th place after that spin. Holmbaum, Vetterstedt in your top 13, with Hana is in 14th place, and Haflidsson is in your top 15. Remember, top 15 is to look out for in this next race, as it will be reversed for race number 3. Olsen, Crook, Orman, Broström and Wallingston round out your top 20. Some of these drivers already 40 seconds off the lead. Johansson, Jelmelid and Bohlin inside your top 23, with Frisk, one of the also spinners in that race. Lembach, Lode inside your top 26. Peterson, Norgren, Eriksson and Broström rounding out your top 30. And Bjorn Broström, he is actually the sponsor of this race for Karlskoga Self-Storage. Helmbro, Rob, Nylander, Allard, Helberg and Schott, and then also Janka rounding out your 37 drivers. Of course, we ended up with 6 DNFs there in the end, but I'd say that isn't too bad of a ratio compared to the 37 that we started with, Justin.
Yeah, especially since 3 of those drivers were part of the big incident on lap 1 of the race, but now that's a good chance for a lot of those drivers to regroup with another 11 laps up on the board, and in turn, expect that battle for the race lead here to be extremely competitive off the starting blocks, with what Byfeld knows could be an important move already, with that clean air advantage we've seen be pivotal for Eriksson in race 1.
Who's going to get the whole shot last time around? It was Jesper Eriksson. He jumped from 3rd place almost to 1st, coming down towards turns 2 and 3 for the first time. He's got Byfeld alongside him. We reset for the second race of the evening. The Karlskoga Self-Storage Grand Prix is going to get underway for the second race. Jesper Eriksson gets away rather nicely once more, and the 2 Force drivers from the second row try and follow in. Lennholm and Augusten with some good starts. It looks like everyone's got cleanly off the line as we go 3 wide through turn 1 for some of the drivers. Then Jesper Eriksson takes the racing line. Byfeld's holding to the inside to try and battle with Lennholm there in that 3rd place. As Augusten now in the background is almost losing out to Dan Holmer, who's had a great start there, but he in turn is now under attack, with Selander trying to drive him up the inside as all the battles continue through the first sector.
A perfect start once again for Eriksson. He's shown he's one of the best starters in the series, at least to start the season. Not so much attrition per se yet. Giving it our 5 seconds, some of these drivers I think are going 3 wide to the backdrop.
No, they certainly are. They're trying to get that. It's a fast corner, turn 5, but it's also a fairly hard braking zone. It's kind of one of those weird ones. You can send it up the inside, but let's see if they want to continue the battles up towards the corkscrew. Still got the top 4 in their order where they were on the grid, but that certainly wasn't the story of that first sector. But can they keep up this time? Lennholm did have some decent pace, but unfortunately just lost 2 seconds on that first lap, and it stayed the same for the whole race indeed. He's certainly pushing hard though. That was actually Marvin Augusten there, just running a little bit wide as we come to finish the first lap. 11 lap race once more. Eriksson to hold on.
And a very clean first lap to say the very least amongst these drivers. Give them credit. I believe only a couple others had incidents at the very back, like Nylander and Pontus Norgren. Everybody else got the launch they needed to have essentially for this race to be able to get themselves in a rhythm. And once again, your top 3 from the first race, showing why they were top 3 in the first race. Lennholm is very consistent on pace. Once again, Byfeld consistent on pace, with Eriksson back in conserve mode and looking for a place to take advantage of any mistake if Eriksson finds one.
And it's looking like he is staying with them. A few car lengths have spread out, but it's only been one lap. We'll have to see. But what we do know is that Byfeld continues to be right on the back of Jesper Eriksson. He needs to try and find a way through as up the inside in towards turn 5. We're trying to see some dives. That is Hana there as he's looking at Bohlin for P16, but not able to make that move just yet. But certainly in the midfield, this is where the chaos can be. Look at the trains of drivers. Someone in the background there off at turn 6 as they're all pushing. And you just know if you go off, you're going to be losing these positions.
I believe that was Wallingstam. The 3 car ended up going off from 21st spot, and that's become a common mistake today. Is all it takes for the driver to send it and go in. Oh boy, what was that on the smoke? That was Frisk, his teammate.
Yeah, Frisk involved in another incident. In race 1, he was involved. In race 2, once more, he gets involved in an incident. It looks like another car as well, so maybe a bit of side-by-side action, maybe a bit of a spin, catching someone out. Let's have a look at this. Coming down, yeah, just lose. Oh, but at the same time.
To say the very least. And again, that gets back to the point of, even if you think about side-by-side at the corkscrew, it has led so far, we've already seen, to almost every single time, leading to a spin if you're still side-by-side, or at least partially by the apex of the corkscrews.
Yeah, it seems the racing line is so important, but I guess it is just with the way that the elevation changes, you have to get your line absolutely perfect to continue with the most speed. But look how they drop down so much. You sort of turn and you just pray that when it compresses, that you have all the grip that you want, and it's working out well for everyone at this moment in time. Once again, Lindholm, he is staying there. He's just lost a couple of tenths here and there, but he has got some great pace. So 4s are looking very prepared with 3 cars up inside the top 4 as he come around to start lap number 4. But Byfeld once more, Justin, he hasn't been able to really attack. I wonder if at some point he needs to start trying a couple of other things. Let's see though, actually first in towards turn 2, is Eriksson going to do any sort of defensive line? No, he thinks he's got Byfeld covered. And
I don't blame him for thinking he's got him covered because, well, he technically does with how he's been comfortably holding onto the racing line as a whole in Sector 1 throughout this race. Keep in mind, there is one bit of a change compared to the last time. You have the Force Esports machine, keeping it close like Lindholm. So essentially a Team 1-3. It's almost shades of what we've seen at Road Atlanta already. We have Eriksson and Byfeld, and then a third driver that's 99 times out of 100 in the first 2 races, it seems, being the Force car. Oh, I should rather say for the 4.
Yeah, for the 4s, yeah. Nice. What's the word? Iteration? Something like that. As Eriksson is continuing his lead of this race. But remember, they will get reversed around. It's your top 15. And at the moment, Oliver Bohlin is in that place in P15. He'll get that reverse grip with Alexander Olsen alongside. And then Andreas Bachmann, of course, started on that front row. He'd go back to the second row, finishing this race P13. If it finishes like that, so it's going to be a lot harder for these guys in race number 3. Byfeld he's got a decent run there out of the final corner, but he's not gaining too much just yet. Down towards the braking zone of turn number 2, as I think Fredriksson has had further issues. He's dropped down a few positions as he did. As he spun coming out the final corner. He had a spin in that first race, and it continues on in the second.
I almost get shades of, there was one race on a race spot where we had a spin every 2 minutes, including in this corner several times. That triggered basically by side. Fredriksson tried to send it and actually lost it before he even went across the Sanchez curbing. And, oh boy, more trouble in the background. Everybody's off an inch ready here, pin in the 20s.
Oh, yeah. They're battling hard, and potentially more contact down there. So we have to try and see that on the replay. Wallingstam may be involved in that one. Helmbro getting up a position over him, and the 77 machine as the 3 rejoins there. I mean, I guess it's a difficult one to overtake. So when you do get the opportunity, people are sending it. Here's Helmbro. He's on the outside line there, trying to go around the 16. Just lose it on his own. There's already a car off as someone else in the foreground is off. Is there oil down on the track or something? What is going on there?
I'm not quite sure, other than, did everybody miss their mark, or did somebody run over a sign that had everybody's mark? Wallingstam missed the corner. Originally, that was Bachmann yet again missing the corner. I think part of that, too, is everyone sees smoke, and then it's like, oh, no, what's going on? They lose focus, and that causes a lot of drivers to end up missing the marks like Wallingstam, I think, did in the turn, because you had everybody smoking their tires in the turn.
It's so weird to see that in sim because we don't sort of have those oil downs and stuff that you'd expect in real life. But there's some changes up inside the top 10. Salander has got Holmer for P5. Haflidison has got Gyros there for P8. So Haflidison, he's gone up, 7 places already in the first half of this race. So he's doing some great recovery drives after that spin at the beginning of the first race. A bit of a shame actually because he was up in 3rd place and we never really know what his pace would have been like to potentially challenge Byfeld and Ericsson in that first race. That's what caused the gap in between them and Lenholm. But this time around, Lenholm is keeping up. This is really a 3-way battle. All your podium place drivers currently are going to be in this battle to the end of the race.
And I expect Lenholm, if things get aggressive amongst the top 2, to think about a chance to peek around here. It's not so easy to do here today. But it's still a good points haul either way if you're Force Esports as a whole as a grouping here, because it's pretty much showcasing. Qualifying speed's been a priority, but also being able to work together as a group. Once you have at least 2 of your drivers in a pack like this, it does give you that bit of an advantage for a race that requires some draft. Byfeld, again, is boxed in.
He's closer though. That was the closest he's been in a few laps, and he actually had half a sniff at looking down the inside. Is it going to be enough though? Can he keep this sort of 1 car length gap that he's got so far? Lap 7 of 11, so the laps once more count down very fast in this championship as the races really fly past. He's been in 2nd place for a long time now, pretty much since lap 2 of that first race. They've been in this order, just looking at the rear wing of Jesper Eriksson. Havlidson gets there up inside. No, he doesn't. He actually drops down. So Havlidson, I thought he made a move there, but he's actually dropped down. Kamara's gone up to P7. Havlidson dropped down to P10. All sorts of moves a little bit further down as well. Gyros has had issues. He's dropped down inside your top 17. So all sorts of action is happening in the midfield as they're trying to work your way up. And I was correct. It's actually the top 20 that gets reversed. So at the moment, Rickard Allard is in that position with Hellberg in P19. But let's see how that one continues over the course of the next few laps.
I think the reason you've seen all that shuffling wasn't more so battling, it was more so chaos, I can tell you this, because Fledison's ability to keep his car clean the past few weeks, it's been having some problems. I'll just say that. It's been having some moments. And Gyros amongst those was involved in what I'm referring to, just spun it in the corkscrew.
Oh, bit of a lock up there. Ericsson starting to feel the pressure, I think, as Byfeld is really close. The last 2 laps, he's been close enough for Ascend, but it has to be a do-or-die move almost. So high risk. And is the reward going to be there? He needs to catch the points down to Jesper Eriksson. He's not going to win championship if he follows behind him for the rest of the season. So he needs to try and get some of these points back and basically reverse the favour. Oh, up the inside there. That's Haflidison trying to make the move on the inside of turn 4. But that certainly is not going to work. And maybe that was Gyros getting involved there as well. Yep. One of the cars. That is not a nice one for him as well, because he was looking to start up towards the front. And he's had further issues at the corkscrew going around onto the gravel. And look at the train of cars going past them.
That's what I was referring to a little bit there, because all that damage from that contact with a Fledison incident essentially gave him mandatory repairs to do. And in turn, that's going to take him out of contention like for the rest of this round after being the winner of the invert race last time. But now we're coming up to 3 laps to go. Ericsson's starting to look a little bit vulnerable with how much dust he's starting to kick up. And Byfeld is getting a little bit less patient each lap.
When does he want to send it though? 3 laps remaining in the race. Does he want to go now? Or maybe, as you were mentioning earlier, Justin, is it going to be too early for Ericsson then to just come back at him? He's got to be very careful. He needs to know if he does go for the move to the lead, he needs to decide if that's going to be the one where he can hold onto it to the end of the race as he himself is pushing. And Lenholm follows him in sympathy, also going slightly off the track as they really are pushing the limit. They are on the edge of what they can do in these cars, trying to find a way through, but it's a tricky circuit. It's such high speed for these cars. They have so much downforces, makes these sort of mid-speed corners so much easier, but you have to be perfect with your braking, with your inputs. As there, Ericsson goes wide. Is that going to be the opportunity that Byfeld needs? He's going to have the momentum up into the braking zone of the corkscrew. Hard to the left-hand side, Ericsson goes, and Byfeld has to back out of that one.
And again, you can tell Byfeld thought about it, said, you know what, it's easier if I just wait, back it up. This isn't going to be a full-on attack. If I try this, there's, if anything, more of a chance of contact. And Byfeld in each of these races so far, if you can include the previous races at Road Atlanta, takes very calculated decisions. If he knows he can't clearly make the pass, he'll lift down the middle of the straightaway or towards the entry point, back it up, try and wait. This time he's got a shot.
He certainly does. Round the outside, that is going to be high risk because he's going to lose out, and then potentially Lennholm's going to get involved in this battle. Ericsson defends that just about enough, what he needed to do, but Byfeld, he's getting closer and closer every single lap. Just 1.5 laps remain, and the opportunities for him to overtake are going down, so he's going to get a little bit desperate here if he wants to try and get this race lead, but he has the pace. Can he find the way? He looks to the inside of turn 5, but not this time around.
And it gets back to the same point I made when it came to the Andretti hairpin. If you're on that outside and you're not able to keep it side by side, as we've seen by the corner exit, it's hard to be able to try and make it work. Another slide. Ericsson's getting really loose on those rear tires.
Round the outside is going to have to be for Byfeld. How much risk does he want? It looks like he's going to try. He's going to hold it around the outside. Ericsson, is he going to give him the space? Just about. Byfeld hits the bum, and Lennholm is going to dive up the inside there. So Byfeld, he was looking at first, but he goes down into third place with just 1 and a bit laps remaining. Has Lennholm actually got a chance of winning this race?
And that's exactly what I was talking about too with the corkscrew. If you have an opportunity to go side by side there 9 times out of 10 so far, it's led to loose moments like that one. Byfeld lucky to hold on to it. With the white flag here, Ericsson's got a prime opportunity to go 2 for 2 already.
Certainly does, because that battle in that final corner just lost them another car length or so. Lennholm diving it, beelining it to the apex, making a lock up, but he keeps it down to that second apex of turn 2 as well. But look at the lead Ericsson's got. That's the biggest margin he's had for about 30 minutes of racing, such as Byfeld being on the back of him. But look at this up the inside. Lennholm is going to have to defend. Byfeld trying to get him offline to get the run up towards turn 5. Is it enough? He's going to be on the outside line. This is a very difficult maneuver, but once again, he might just have to do the sort of opposite to try and get him offline up towards turn 6.
Oh, they're very lucky there hasn't been contact yet because Lennholm doesn't seem to have as good of a grip in the first 2 sectors here. At this point, Byfeld may be willing to risk it again.
Absolutely, in towards the corkscrew. He tried on the outside, last lap around. Oh, Lennholm, he locks up, but somehow it puts his car in the perfect place to hold on. Ericsson's absolutely gone up the road. It's just the battle for P2, and Lennholm might just be able to hold on to this. One more braking zone, proper braking zone, in towards the final corner. Is it going to be down the inside for Byfeld? He's going to have to try something crazy. He's looking at it. He's thinking about it. Lennholm goes to the inside. He's going to have a slower run off this final corner up towards the line. And race 2 of the Karlskoga Self-Storage Grand Prix goes to Jesper Ericsson. He goes 2 for 2 for this round, but across the line, I think Lennholm is just going to hold on to it by 1/10 of a second. Byfeld, unfortunately, not only does he not get the win, but he doesn't even get second place. He has to hold on to 3rd out of the final corner, but fair play for Ivan Lennholm. He sat there, he had the good pace, and he managed to hold on in the end in that final lap. What a job from him as well.
And it gets right back to the point made once again with the corkscrew. You just can't make it stick side by side today. Just with the elevation change, it makes you so loose, especially if you're the one initiating the attack in most of the cases. You can't make that stick without potentially losing time, and Lennholm was in the popcorn seat in prime position yet again to take a spot away from Byfeld.
Yeah, what a job he's doing this season. Jesper Ericsson, 5 races down and 4 race victories, of course, going to continue leading the championship. But of course, we need to see sort of the results and who is also got inside the top 20. The top 20 is going to be reversed for the grid for race 3. And that, of course, is always an interesting one. That's a lot. So many positions to try and get back through. And certainly going to be a little bit more of a difficult one for Ericsson to try and make it 3 for 3. But of course, he's going to try. And actually, Byfeld losing a position or 2 there might make his at least lap 1 slightly more easier. But his results anyway for race 2. Ericsson from Lennholm at the front, 2.5 seconds the gap at the end. Such was the fighting with Marcus Byfeld, who dropped down to 3rd place. Melvin Aukson capitalizes with another good result in P4. Salander, Holmer, and even Hafliderson getting up into top 7. What a battle they had inside your top 10. Holmbaum, Kamara, and Fredriksson rounding out your top 10 there. And of course, Fredriksson, another sort of slight disappointing result for second place in the championship. Bohlin, Kruk, Olsen, Ullman, and Johansson inside your top 15 with Hellberg, Vedestedt, Rob, Allard, and Backman. So there it will be Backman on your front row with Allard. Here's the rest of your drivers going down with Håkan Schott and Janka just unfortunately missing out. And there are your top 37 drivers with Marcus Byfield actually getting the fastest lap that time around. But while the drivers just have a little break before we get to the craziness of the reverse grid, we'll get a few messages from our partners.
Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
And welcome back to Laguna Seca as we continue on for the Karlskogas Self-Storage Grand Prix for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Formula Series. We've had 2 races and Jesper Eriksson has won both of them, but we go to the reverse grid, of course, for race number 3, and it is a reverse top 20. So that's a lot of positions for them to go around. It's myself, Cameron Roger, with Justin Prince alongside me, and Dane Bed doing the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast that we are, of course, bringing to you this evening. It's round 6 of the season, and there's plenty more to go with 3 races happening every single evening between now and April, where we go to Oran Park Raceway to find out the champion of our series. And of course, don't forget, we have the NASCAR Oval League every other week in between these as well. So plenty of racing every week here, every Thursday night. There is your event format. We've had the 211 lap races, and we now go to a longer 17 lap race with, as I said, the top 20 inverted. Justin, is going to be certainly quite difficult, but Jesper Eriksson, he did come second in the inverted race a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, indeed. And this could be an interesting one yet again, because with how crazy things have been on the opening lap in the mid to back pack, there could be a lot of your contenders in major trouble to start things off. And we've already seen how difficult it is to pass for the lead, let alone in the heart of the pack. A lot of those drivers are going to need to find a way to make efficient passes for the course of 17 laps if they want to get solid points here. On the bright side for our original outside front row sitter and Andreas Bachmann, believe he's amongst those who recovered well here. We'll see towards the front for the invert in the next couple moments. We'll see if he's able to hold on this time.
Yeah, that was a bit surprising because, of course, he was up there in qualifying, up towards the, actually, even on the front row, I think he was, but he just didn't get away, bogged down, and it just went from bad to worse, and he couldn't really make it up in that second race as well, keeping in that 20th position. So it's going to be a difficult, sort of a difficult one in terms of now he's got to hold on to it once more because the pressure is put on him. He's been given a second chance up towards the front, and he is going to be on the front row of the grid with Rickard Allard alongside him. Hugo Robb and Vedestedt to round out your top 4 with Hellberg and Robert Johansson inside your top 6. And of course, these drivers all finishing inside the top 20 last time around. Ehrman and Olsen are on your 4th row, with Crook and Wallet on your 5th. Fredriksson and Kamara inside your top 12. And of course, the drivers, as we get further back here, they've got a lot of work to do. Holmbaum and Hafliderson, Holmer and Salander, then Orkerson, and of course, Marcus Beifeld from 18th position. And then, of course, in 19th and 20th position will be your 1 and 2 in the previous race, with Lenholm and Ericsson inside your top 20. Schotte, Janka, and then Vollingsturm and Lurden all just missing out, unfortunately, on that reverse grid pole position. But they do have 17 laps to try and get themselves a lot further up the grid. So certainly it's going to be a little bit more of a tricky one. We'll let the rest of the drivers follow their way through. And of course, there's Bjorn Brostrom as well, P29, the sponsor of this race. So thank you very much for that one. And the Karlskoga Self-Storage Grand Prix is going to be getting underway for the 3rd and final race. As we said, a slightly longer 17-lap race. So more time for the drivers to try and make these overtakes. Justin, do you think we're going to see the front row stay the same when we get to lap sort of 2 and 3?
Very much so, no, because that wasn't the case in Georgia. That absolutely, I don't think, will be the case here today. All it will take is just one mistake from anybody, and things open up. Hugo Robb, I expect to be potentially in the conversation to lead a lap early on, but I think, for the most part, it will be down to, in the case, the first 3 laps at least, can you make sure you get off the start well, but also, can you survive the corkscrew?
It's going to be a tough one, but the lights come on for the final race of the Karlskoga Self-Storage Grand Prix. 17 laps of action. Andreas Bachmann on your front row with Rickard Allard alongside him. Can he get away this time? Yes, he can, but Allard can't. And unfortunately, he's going to be dropping down the way. Rob has already got through. Vedestad as well should be getting up in towards that 3rd place. As we come down towards turn 1, someone in the background also had a bit of a bog down, quite a bit off the back of the field. A clean run for the top 2 as we go through turn 2, but with 3 wide, a few rows deep back there as we come through turn 2 for the first time of asking up towards turn 3. A little bit of contact there as we come through in towards the braking zone. They're all trying. Oh no, cars going off one of the Force drivers. That might be Oscar Fredriksson, and it's caused absolute carnage in the midfield. 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers all spinning around.
Jesper Eriksson involved. They are still piling it up underneath the bridge. Oh my goodness, that's in the heart of the racetrack. And that is exactly what I talked about. Mid-pack start for your fastest drivers usually leads to a chaotic first lap like that one.
Yeah, Hafliderson, Ericsson all involved. Lenholm as well. Fredriksson, some of the top drivers in this championship. And unfortunately, they're going to be out, or at least towards the back, having some damage. They're all in the pit lane. Actually, Lenholm has continued, but the rest of them, they're all in the pit lane, as this is absolute carnage. 4 wide is never going to work. Fredriksson there on the outside gets collected, and the driver's spinning because of that. Oh my God, just absolute scenes. Fortunately, most of it went to the inside, but then a couple of rejoiners, unfortunately. I think that's Fredriksson still being ping-ponged up towards turn 4. I mean, that's a good sort of 500 yards or so up towards turn 4. They got pushed and pulled around. And yeah, that is not going to work, unfortunately. That might have been Beifeld actually just in the middle making some contact. And then there's Ericsson on the inside there, just nowhere to go for these drivers. Once the car starts spinning around, the drivers in behind, I mean, it's just so little time to react.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers, when you have at least one driver will make a mistake. It's to the point you still have a car parked there, by the way. That's Timmy Nylander, who's still parked there. At this point, it's like, okay, what else can you do here? Except hold on and hope that you don't make any major contact. At that point, you're just hoping that you survive without any touches or any incidents or any need for repairs. Question mark indeed for the 113. It's not been a good round. All 3 races. Timmy's been at Crush today.
Yeah, I wonder. Who's that? That's another Street Trend driver. Is that going to be Beifeld? I hope not for the sake of the championship. Unfortunately, no, it's the 666 there. Frederick Neptune. He was also involved as well in a crash. He's lost. First of all, he's blown the engine. Second of all, he's lost that rear right wheel. So you can say he's had a very bad time of it. He's on his own at this moment in time. Oh no, contact on a straightaway between the 2 cars, and unfortunately just gets collected, just narrowly avoids his teammate as well.
At that point, if you have contact down the straightaway, that is extremely frustrating, to say the very least, in a race like this. And I believe more cars are off. Homer's off. Lembach is around. A couple others, I believe, had contact in that sector. It's carnage yet again here at this track. Carnage seems to find a way to happen a lot here.
I mean, we knew it was going to be a tough race, but certainly this opening couple of laps, and he just loses the rear end on his own. Does anyone get collected? Oh, a little bit of contact. That might be Dan Holmer, potentially, but he's just saved it, and he's been able to continue. That is not a good position to be in. And as it's worked out, Bugman is leading the way. Hugo Robb is in second place, and Alexander Olsen is in third. Rickard Allard from your front row has dropped down to fourth place, with Johansson and Hellberg inside your top six. Salander, Orman, Vettestad, and Kamara are your top 10 as it stands. But already after 3 laps, the top 10 are covered by almost 9 seconds. Such is the manner of all that carnage and all the spins there on the first couple of laps.
Yeah, this is absolute craziness to say the very least, but like I said, that Rob will be up towards the front. Here it is. You know who's somebody dropping quickly from 4th to 9th already? Pontus Witterstead. Whenever anyone's gotten a run, especially in this part of the racetrack, he said, you know what? Ole, let's go. Let's make the pass. Let's make it quick. At this point, you have the chance for a lot of these drivers to gain spots, and they're saying, you know what? Let's send it. I don't care if there's a scrape on my side pod. I don't care if I peel off the sponsor logos on my side pod. Let's make the pass.
And I guess if you're someone who's slightly higher up in the first couple of races, you've already scored your points. So I guess in some way you can take a little bit more risk in this race, but still, a lot of points are for offer that you want to be getting, as we're seeing already some drivers try to find their way back. This Marcus Byfeld, he's only made it to P15 so far.
And I think that just tributes to how difficult it is to make a pass here, let alone be able to hold on to a position, but also get to the next pack in the first place. It's going to take at least another lap or two, at least possibly for Byfield to get to his teammate Leighton, to Frisch, then it can shot at this point. With how the separation's built up here, that's the trouble of an invert race. You have speed and raw pace, but when the speed is only about a half a second of a second, you can only go so far.
Yeah, Hellberg there has dropped down quite a few positions. He's obviously had some sort of issue. Johansson also losing 2 places there. Salander, Orman get him. So Johansson now down into P7 as Auxon has got Vettestad there. As Hellberg, he's continuing to have some issues. He's going very, very slow in his 404 SBS racing machine. Up towards the corkscrew it is going to be. Locks up. I wonder, was that a technical issue maybe? Because that is weird to see the lock up in that way, but he has continued racing at least.
Yeah, he did try the pass there, and I think it's more so what happened, I think, to Johansson's more my confusion there is he looked like he did fine, and then almost is like, I've got to hit the brakes right now. And it's lucky, I think, he didn't get turned around with some of the stacking up there we've seen after the sequence. But for Christopher Crook, good launch so far, up to 11th, trying to pass by Johansson himself once again. And he's got wing damage.
Oh, and that is not going to help, especially the balance, maybe a bit of top speed. And we still have quite a few laps of this race to go, so there might be a few tenths that he's going to be hoping that he has over the course of this race. Back towards the front, and Rob is under attack. Alexander Olsen for the Sim Race Sweden team is getting close. He's trying to battle the 21 car up towards the penultimate corner. Bachmann is getting up away by 2 seconds already in the first 5 laps or so, but Olsen, he's looking good to potentially get the second place.
And for him, he is a very solid driver. Whenever we've seen him, especially on the oval side, and Olsen that comes to mind. But so far for him, remember, started up with the track position. He's in turn been able to get away from the chaos. That's a big difference here. To be able to get that cushion, be able to run away, be able to breathe, be able to settle things out here. So it's gone exactly to plan to say the very... You know who's moved to the field, though, I will say? 16th to 5th comes to mind, and 17th to 6th. Solander and Alexson, the next on the pylon behind this grouping and behind Aurev, they're up already, double-digit positions apiece.
That is that's some good position gains. Absolutely, as you see, 10 apiece for Solander Auxon inside your top 6. Both those drivers trying to catch down Rickard Allard. It's a bit of a gap, 3.5 seconds as it stands, but over the course of the next 11 laps, being some of the faster drivers in this championship, they might be able to catch that down, as Olsen has continued to stay close as well. So we're definitely seeing this track being one where you can race really well, but it is more front to rear time trial style racing and not making a mistake. As Christopher Crook has had an issue for the Street 10's TBR machine. He's losing the front wheel up a turn 6. It goes wide, overcorrects it, and sends it into the barrier with a hard hit.
All I can say to that is, bah? That's Swedish for ha. Because I think he just hit the bit of the stand and that snapped him hard right, basically with the snap of oversteer. Simple as that.
Yeah, and it's hard to hold on to as well, because sometimes when you get that snap, your instant reaction is, oh no, the car's going to go around. But sometimes just the tiniest little correction might be enough. And unfortunately, the front just gripped up there and just sent him off to the right-hand side. And there's because he was sort of more on the exit of the corner, there isn't actually much space there. Like if you go dead straight here at turn 6, there's a decent amount of runoff before you get to the fence. Because he was so far around the corner, unfortunately, the fence was very, very close to him, and too close for him, unfortunately, to lose the front wheel in that contact. Definitely showing you how so easy it is. We're missing a lot of drivers already. We're up to 11, I think, DNFs or people in the pit lane repairing as it stands. So a very attritional opening half of this race.
And that's to be expected once again with an invert race. But now it's going to be the true test once again. Are you a good enough driver to make smart passes and be able to keep your composure when you have drivers falling down the pylon and making mistakes in front of you, but also when you know you only have X amount of time to be able to make up a bunch of spots, prove that you can make it through the field, and gain significant point tallies if your competitors are not able to live up to the task. I will say for Hellberg, it's been a better race 3 for him. He finished race 1 upside down in the corkscrew. He finished 16th in race 2 on the recovery drive, and now he's been shuffled back to 12th.
But he did have that off for the corkscrew this time around. So it hasn't been a perfect race, but positionally it's looking a lot better. As is this a replay? Yeah, that was the 4 wide incident a little bit further back. And that was Hafliderson up the inside. Byfeld and also one of the Bright Esports drivers up his inside. Just absolute scenes here. And then unfortunately, there's more drivers trying to rejoin the race, rejoin the track, I should say. And unfortunately, the drivers then had nowhere to go. Really, really big shame. There's one of the black cars potentially. Might have been Ericsson was also involved in that one. Here is Alexander Olsen as well, still in that 3rd place, trying to chase down Rob. And Bagman is actually just going off. So Bagman's looking good. He sort of bottled his front row chance in that first race, but he's showing his pace now. He got off the line nicely this time.
Yeah, and I think this is going again to the game plan for the 292. Stay up front, just keep up with whoever's staying in the train, work from there. And it's gone to the exact plan that you hope for. Now, that plan can change if drivers like Hugo Robb make mistakes like that one again. Here comes the chance that he's been looking for to say, maybe it's time for an audible. The audible failed.
That is not the place you would really want to overtake, though. Up the inside of turn 4. Doesn't go for it in C5 either, but he has the pace, and he's putting Rob under so much pressure. He's getting these opportunities to have at least a sniff down the inside. But as we've seen throughout this evening of racing, you can overtake, but you have to commit to it. It's got to be a very risky move to try and make it stick. Up towards the corkscrew this time around. We're on lap 9 of 17 in this final race of the evening of the Karlskoga Self-Storage Grand Prix for round 6 of the season. Backman's looking good for the win, but I think Olsen is looking good for this 2nd place. He closes up in towards the penultimate corner. So braking and diving down the inside of the final corner isn't always what you want to do, but you've got to try and get this run onto the main straight.
And the run hasn't fully been there most of these laps so far, but that little off track for Rob might just be enough of a speed difference. There it goes. Olsen, I think, might be able to at least get side by side. Can he keep it there is the question.
But what he needs to do now is get a different line, get the accelerator now, try and get on there a bit early, up towards turn 3. He's holding that inside line. Is he going to go for it? But unfortunately, not close enough. And because of that, he's on a bit of a slower line, so he's going to lose some momentum as we work our way up through turn 4. So he's going to need to try and work that momentum back in his favor. Runs slightly wide there, doesn't lose any time with that this time around. As in the background, Alarda's gone off, I think. Salander, Auction, they've both gone through him, up for P4.
Yeah, and that's not a surprise here with how Solander's pace has been since the start of this race to be able to make up so much of the ground along with Ericsson. Here's the thing, those are 12 seconds back, those two. So essentially, all you need to do to lose the podium in this race right now, if you're in this top 3, is just drive it off the racetrack. That's how you lose the podium. If you don't drive it off the racetrack, you keep a podium. And meanwhile, speaking of driving off and around, 77's been having a day.
Yeah, certainly. As soon as he went backwards there on the racing line, I thought he was going to get collected. But fortunately for him and the MHE Racing Team Orange car, he's been able to continue on. But that was certainly a scary moment. Of course, Helmbro, very experienced driver, as he's had a pole position. In fact, he's had 2 pole positions, I think, so far in the NASCAR Oval Series. That'll be coming back next week for a doubleheader at North Wilkes, but unfortunately not the race he would have wanted. Hellberg has gained a position there. Someone has dropped down a couple of places. Is that Anton Orman up there inside the top 10? Unfortunately, though, he's done a swap around, almost collects his teammate, but just about gets out of the way in time.
I was wondering when Anton was going to do that, because he seems to be more confident in stock car racing. The road course racing has been a little bit scary at times. On the bright side, we have the answer to where positions were gained on the pylon. This is how. That was not a good exit for some of those drivers seeing, the face of your competitor.
I tell you what, this is turned out to be a more difficult track than I was expecting. Like, I know it's a tough track, and it is a difficult one, in the grand scheme of things, but it's been more difficult, 100%. This car it races so well, and it just works at every track that we go to, it seems. It doesn't matter if it's a big Grand Prix track or some club circuits, or even sort of the American style circuit like we got today. But it just seems to be very, very difficult for these drivers, as they seem to be going off the track quite a lot this race. And it's just little bumps over a curb or maybe a slightly difficult line in towards the corkscrew, and you just put a swapper on.
Yeah, and this is a racetrack, mind you, with a lot of history since the 1950s, mind you. So it's a track that, when you actually think about it, for the most part, the corkscrew has been one of the main fixtures since its heyday, essentially. And mind you, this is a track that, despite the neighbors' best efforts, is likely going to be around for another few decades. So for a lot of the top drivers in sim racing, even some of those coming up to the ranks, this is a racetrack, even so much as if you're a casual gamer in terms of racing, you have to learn this track, because most of the time, one of the first tracks they put you on when you're either just at a rookies in iRacing or even in other platforms, not mentioning the specific ones, is at this track, because the corkscrew tests your ability of car control.
Yeah, certainly does. I remember when I was back in rookies on iRacing, must be like 2014, 15, long time ago now. But yeah, I was doing the MX-5s around this track, and it's certainly a very, a tricky track to learn. You learn very quickly jumping in at the deep end. It's one of those old school tracks that's really kept that heritage. It hasn't been just flattened with tarmac everywhere. It's kept the old school nature, and that is why we love coming back to it. But it's certainly difficult. And talking of difficulties, Rob, holding on to this, he's holding on to it well. As we saw of Ericsson in the first couple of races, you can defend from the front, but is Olsen going to get a run up the inside there, putting his nose up the inside, but not enough to make the move. And every time he does that, they just lose a few more tenths to Bachmann.
And again, I don't think the move is fully on quite yet, unless Olsen gets some confidence down. There's some confidence, and there's a bold move.
Around the outside, it's going to be in towards turn 6. Who is going to back out? One of them, surely. You can't go side by side on the apex. They try it, though. Olsen keeps it within track limits. Fair play to Rob, giving him the space. Rob will continue, though, to have the inside line down towards the corkscrew. Just a few laps remaining in this race. But Olsen, he's broken later. Can he get it stopped? He's locked up. He chunked it over the curb. He's squeezing Rob to the left-hand side. But Rob is going to continue to have his nose up the inside here for the very fast left-hander there at turn 9. But as we get towards turn 10, Olsen continues in P2, and he's completed that move.
And Olsen played that extremely boldly and just threw it away.
Certainly has, as Rob goes back up the inside. And look at the momentum he carried onto that straight as well. That might be enough for him to not have any threat in the final 3 laps of this race.
Unreal. You have one of the boldest moves of the entire day. Make it stick in at least 2 corners where you normally have seen crashes for side by side. And you still manage to overdrive the corner once you have the position basically settled out, except for one more defensive move. That's unreal, to say the very least, in the case of Olsen, where you had the position in hand.
Certainly did, but that just shows you the pressure that they're under. He was like, oh, finally got it, breaks into the final corner, but just doesn't break at the right time. And unfortunately, fortunately, actually did catch it, though. He was able to do so. Didn't completely spin around like we saw Vedestedt just do a lap or so ago. But is it going to be enough to stop him holding on to this position? They're now almost 6 seconds off the back of Buckman, up towards the front there as we get towards 3 laps remaining in this race. It looks like we know who's going to be winning the race, but we still don't know who's going to be P2.
Yeah, I think the focus isn't for them to battle for the race win here. Basically, it's, okay, we're battling for second step on the podium. The third step of the podium may as well be the consolation prize. But I think for Olsen, it's going to take at least another lap or 2 to be able to regroup. It might come down to a last lap attempt in the similar vein of what we just seen for him to initially make the pass to get anything going on Rob.
And one thing that I'm slightly surprised about, though, is how quick Olsen has caught up. It was a decent gap after that spin, but Olsen clearly has the pace. And if he got past, maybe sort of 5 laps ago, he might have had half a chance. Oh, no! He spins it, though, coming in towards turn 4, and that is definitely the opportunity gone for P2. And look who's coming in the background as well. Byfeld has got himself up into P5. Aukson's going to go through for the final place on the podium. Byfeld is now up into 4th. Salander is in 5th place. Olsen drops back past all 3 of them. So not only does he lose out on P2, but he's going to be in P6.
And all it takes is going off the racing line by a couple inches. In that case, Cameron, I'm pretty sure Olsen went off the racing line and touched some of the dirt at the edge of the curbing. And as we know in iRacing, dirt, grass, sand, all of that, you may as well be dropping on black ice.
Yeah, absolutely. In general, especially the rear end is so on the limit, and that's why you have to be so perfect. But if you just go on to, as you say, some of that gravel, some of the dust on the track, and it really makes you struggle with that a little bit more. 2 laps remain in this race and in the evening of the Karlskoga Self-Storage Grand Prix. Race 3, the inverted race. Buckman from the front row in race 1, unfortunately, dropped all the way down. But now with the invert, he was given back his position up towards the front. And he's held onto it ever since the first meter of this race, and he's looking good to hold on. Here's Linus Brewstrom down in P12. He's jumped up a lot of places. Not the evening that he would have wanted with a little bit of a spin earlier, but certainly for the Bright Esports driver, he is looking good to hold on to that as well.
Well done indeed for Linus to at least be able to keep it clean for this race, I will say. His teammate, Ken John, not going to have an easy time because that 101 is being attacked by just about everybody, including 2 drivers and incidents in the backdrop. Then you'll be touched again.
Always loaded there, just holds on to position as the Street Trends driver goes off the track as he holds on, but there's one of the Bright Sports driving it up the inside. Is that maybe Dan Holman getting up there towards P13, and that has worked out pretty well for him, but unfortunately not for Lodum. It's been a tough, difficult evening for Street Trends, been up and down with them. Of course, Byfeld getting a couple of podiums, but it's unfortunately not going to be for him this time around, at least for Lodin, I was meaning. But Byfeld, he might actually be able to get on the podium once more. He has had to work hard so far this race. We're on to the final lap, and one final opportunity as the white flag comes out.
One more lap to try and do something. Remember, Byfeld has been one of the few daring to make moves up at front, at least, in the final corner. It hasn't been on fully in the Andretti hairpin because of just how close he's been able to get, but not able to get alongside in said corner. The setup has to be on, though, possibly for that run to turn 5, if not that final corner yet again, if you're Byfeld.
Yeah, what have you got now? You got turn 5, you got the corkscrew, you got the final corners, 3 major opportunities. This is the first one. He's not close enough to dive it down the inside, but he is really putting the pressure on Auxon. Remember Auxon as well, getting 4th place in the opening couple of races, so he's got speed to hold on to this, but Byfeld, he knows that he wants to get onto this P3. This is a lot of points he can gain back on Jesper Eriksson, who was taken out in that first lap melee, and for a championship contender, this might be important. To the outside he goes, in towards the corkscrew. Auxon defends the inside. That's going to slow down his exit. Byfeld tries to get a bit of a switchback, but it's not going to be enough, at least this time around, as we come across the checkered flag. It's going to be Buckman taking the victory here for the 3rd race of the evening. Rob is in 2nd place. Auxon is going to be in 3rd. As we come up towards the line, though, are they going to be able to hold on to it? Oh no, Byfeld gets him on the run to the line. No, he can't. In towards the final corner. Actually, Auxon must have just made a slight mistake in the braking zone, but he managed to hold it out to the final corner, and he takes the final place there. So Buckman taking victory, Rob in 2nd, Auxon 3rd, and Byfeld in 4th place, with Buckman there almost dropping it at the end. Oh my god, that was a bit of a something that, I mean, I was looking at the timing screen. Come back, Buck he's leading by a lot, but unfortunately, unfortunately I should say, just managed to hold on to it.
I was going to say, did you not see the near spin in the final corner? I think Buckman reached his first lap traffic of the race, Cedric Holmboom, and it basically took the air off the front wing for the final corner and wasn't expecting it. He's very lucky he got back to the gas in time to beat Hugo Robb in this race. If it was even a little bit closer, we might have been talking about a drag race instead.
Absolutely. Buckman now. I thought we were looking at Rob on screen to hold on to that 2nd place, but no, it was Buckman. And he takes the final race victory of the evening. So congratulations to him, doing a bit of revenge for his mistake there in the opening race. But it was certainly carnage filled. We ended up with only, I think it was about 23 drivers or so finishing the race. Absolute carnage there. We lost multiple of the top drivers. Jesper Eriksson, Michael Haflidersen, Oscar Fredriksson, all being taken out, among many others. Even Lenholm as well, having some struggles a few laps later. It was certainly what we kind of expected from an inverted race, and that is why this championship is always going to be wide open, and plenty of races still to come over the course of this season. Still 5 rounds, 3 races each, so 15 races still to go. Andreas Buckman took victory by 2 seconds after that spin, and just about holding on to it after 17 laps of racing. And Hugo Robb is in 2nd place. Auxon is in 3rd, Byfeld in 4th, and Salander rounding out your top 5. Alexander Olsen there, unfortunately, was looking at 2nd place, ends up in 6th, with Kamara, Allard, Helberg, and Johansson rounding out your top 10, with Byfeld getting the fastest lap there on lap 13. Fritz Gerosson, Linus Brewster end up inside your top 13, with Schotlodin and Vollingston inside your top 16, with Helmbro, Vedestad, Norgren, and Honor inside your top 20. And we'll let the rest of the drivers run your way through, as unfortunately it was a pretty carnage field. They certainly had their moments of action this race, didn't they, Justin?
That's an understatement with this final race, especially of the day, because once again, you expect attrition to be high when it comes to a lot of the battling here at this type of a racetrack. Guess what? Attrition was extremely high. And once again, if you got a clean launch like Buckman did, his best of the day after his poor start in race 1, you get yourself into prime opportunities to do what you do today. Run away.
Yes, you certainly do. And I think that was the thing for these for the drivers today, was that they wanted to make sure they could keep it on the track. Unfortunately, that was a little bit more difficult, and we do have a couple of drivers coming to get a word. So let's get first the winner of the 3rd and final race, Andreas Buckman, of course, starting on that pole position. But Andreas, first of all, let's take a look back at that race 1. You're starting up towards the front on that front row, but unfortunately you had an issue at the start there. Do you want to describe that from your point of view?
Yeah, Do you mean race 1 or race 3?
Race 1. Yeah, you
race 1. Yeah,
an issue there.
In race 1 I messed up to start, so I had a lot of wheel spin. But after that I was really a bit all over the place, so it was not really a good race. But I felt I had good pace because I had such a good qualifying. So I knew for race 3 when I was on pole that I could hopefully manage to keep up with the others.
Yeah, absolutely. That's sort of my next question as well. So you obviously feeling quite confident about that, because especially in race 3, once you got the lead down to turn 1, turn 2, you just held on to it. So I guess your preparation must have been quite good for this race.
Yeah, because on Tuesday we had the Swedish Championship qualifying series on this track, so they had some practice for this race, so that I think helped a lot as well. So it was quite good. Yeah, it was quite good to have those laps before this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think, looking forward towards the next sort of races? Obviously, you struggled a little bit in that first round, down 20th in the championship. What do you think you can do? Seemingly, you've got quite good pace in this car.
Yeah, we will see which tracks it will be later on, but this track I didn't really like so much, so hopefully we can have a better track. So, I mean, this track I was doing well at, but I have been struggling quite much, so hopefully in the future rounds I can find more consistent pace, because now the first 2 rounds has been quite much all over the place, so hopefully I start to learn more to be more consistent like I was now in race 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So good pace today, and congratulations on your victory in race number 3.
Thank you very much.
And I think Jesper has dropped off, unfortunately, after his DNF. But we'll bring in Linus Broström, of course, one of the many of the league admins here, and putting a lot of force in behind. But Linus, you were mentioning to us before the race that you sort of struggled a little bit sort of in this style of racing, but you certainly had an eventful evening. Tell us about your spin there. I think was that race 2?
Well, yeah, I mean, they had contact in front. One car went wide, kind of, and I followed the Alcantara car on the inside, and I got a run, so I thought I was going to take it through the middle. And I don't think the car on the left realized I was going through the middle, so turned in a bit, made some contact, but, you know, it's that sort of thing that happens. I took a risk, and he didn't realize how close I was, so it just happens. Unfortunate, because I was hoping for the reverse grid in the 3rd race, but yeah, overall I'm still pleased with how I drove myself. I had a self spin in the first race, and other than that I think it was pretty good. Got the bonus points for CRX in the last race as well, while gaining 22 positions, something like that. So overall decent points day for the team still.
Yes, certainly. And how did you sort of find this car track combination? I mean, we were seeing it was seemingly quite difficult for all the drivers out there.
Well, I don't like this track at all. So, but I mean, still, it was I had some pretty good battles throughout, and I found the rhythm pretty nicely throughout. So it was still decently fun to drive. It was a little bit better than I expected, but I'm definitely looking forward to Virginia a bit more, because that's one of my favorite road tracks. So hoping for a bit more success in 2 weeks. But yeah, I'm not really looking forward to the coming days and all the work we're going to have with all the protests and everything that's probably going to come.
Yeah, that's the bad side about being sort of a league organizer and a driver at the same time. Can't just focus on the practice. But yeah, we wish you luck for Virginia, and hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, see you in a week.
All right, so just talking about that as well, and the schedule is looking good for this series. We've got so many top-level racetracks, and of course, we're sort of doing this in conjunction with the Swedish Championship, as they were saying. And the next one that we go to is, of course, Virginia in 2 weeks' time on the 8th of February to round out this trio of American races to start the season, before we look all the way down towards April the 18th. So join us every other week, every Thursday, same time, same place. As, of course, we look forward to the next race, which, as we said, is Virginia International Raceway. That is going to be a fun one. Another fast track, but a couple of tight and twisty, slower speed corners. It's a narrow one as well. It's going to be difficult for the drivers, but we'll have to see how they hold on to that one. As I said, 8th of February, so a couple of weeks' time, but just remember the Oval Series is back next week as well for a double header at North Wilkes. That is going to be absolute carnage and a lot of fun. But from myself, Cameron Roger, Justin Prince, alongside me in the commentary box, and Dane Baird doing the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast, we wish you a very warm goodbye.